fallen, and that in thinking about not only how to structure a decent society, but also what we do in times of conflict, how we deal with war, we have to assume we're dealing with, and that we're on our own figuring out how to deal with fallen creatures. Nonetheless, the authoritative voice, we do hear an authoritative voice, and that's the voice of prophecy. That you can have a prophetic political theology where the role of the prophet is to call individuals and rulers to listen to God's word and to behave and to rule justly, without that person himself taking the authority to rule. I could say more about that, but that offers another picture of what a political theology might look like.
If I may add, I think that where precisely we may have a slight disagreement is, for me, political theology emerges only with axiality in the axial age, with the emergence of transcendence. Before, all systems were purely immanent, sacrality was immanent, the sacred king, sacred society, sacred kingship. There was no transcendent point from which to precisely criticize or judge the immanent order. What axiality means, whether it is Confucian ethics, whether it is the Buddha, whether it is the Old Testament prophets, whether it is Plato allegory of the cave, is precisely the emergence of some kind of universal principles, ethical principles, from which to judge the ruler. And this is, of course, the emergence of a new type of political theology. Now, those become again immersed in empires and feuds. But from now on, the possibility of principles of political theology from which to desacralize existing orders have been something possible in all axial civilizations.
Well, there we do disagree, because I think that once you have transcendence, you get a certain kind of political theology, but before, there is an Egyptian political theology. There is a Babylonian political theology. The story of Gilgamesh is a drama in part about political theology, but that comes down to how we define these terms, I suppose.
All right. With that, yes, Laura.
Sorry, one last question, just quickly. Professor Casanova, you talked earlier about